Hundreds of years ago, in the wide expanse of the English Channel, waves crashed against the hulls of mighty warships, and the sky darkened with storm clouds. This is the scene of one of the most significant naval confrontations in history, the epic showdown between the Spanish Armada and the English Navy in 1588. This battle shaped the course of European politics and marked the beginning of England's rise as a dominant naval power. Keep watching to dive into the epic showdown between the Spanish Armada and the English Navy in the Battle of Graalene. Reasons for the Spanish Armada. To understand the significance of the Spanish Armada in the Battle of Graalene, we must first understand the reasons behind the Spanish Armada's formation, including the political and religious tensions of the late 16th century. Under King Philip II, Spain was the most powerful empire in Europe. Vast colonies in the Americas fueled its wealth. Meanwhile, England, under the rule of Queen Elizabeth I, was a rising power. However, it was fractured after religious division and the break from the Catholic Church that happened under Queen Elizabeth's father, Henry VIII. The issues that led to the battle boiled down to four things: religion, politics, growing power in Spain, and frustration with English piracy in the New World. Religion was a strong influence on the Spanish king. The Protestant Reformation saw England break from the Catholic Church and become a Protestant country. Philip II strove to restore Catholicism across Europe. He even had the support of the Pope, who offered a reward for the successful restoration of the religion. In addition to his zeal for Catholicism and self-driven desire to restore it, Philip II signed the Treaty of Joinville in 1584, which committed the French and the Spanish to wiping out Protestantism in Europe. As for politics, Philip II wanted to increase his power and expand his empire, just like most rulers of the time. Dethroning the Queen and placing someone sympathetic to Spain and Catholicism on the throne would have been a significant asset. Not only would the country be an asset, but Elizabeth was also supporting the Dutch revolt against Spain, whose rebels were primarily Protestant. This, of course, infuriated King Philip. Additionally, as a counter to the Treaty of Joinville, Elizabeth and the Dutch signed the Treaty of Nonsuch in 1585 to combat Spanish aggression. To add to the messy political scene, Philip had been married to Queen Elizabeth's sister, Mary. After Mary's death, Philip offered to marry Elizabeth but was rejected. While the growing power in Spain is political, it deserves its own category because the success and growth that the Spanish Empire saw around this time made it confident in its ability to crush England. Spain had recently annexed Portugal and was having relative success against the Dutch despite the revolt. At the time, the Netherlands was ruled by Spain, but they were in rebellion, campaigning for independence with support from Queen Elizabeth. Elizabeth helped the Protestant Dutch rebels, sending an army to the country and declaring war on Spain. In addition to the political and religious tension, Sir Francis Drake was causing more dissent by leading English attacks on Spanish vessels. He also raided Spanish settlements in the Americas in the 1570s and 1580s, only stirring up trouble further. Between these actions and the other tensions, when Philip II chose to act against the English, he had plenty of motivation. Although many factors were at play, Philip II's decision to create and launch the Spanish Armada was driven mainly by a mixture of religious zeal and ambition to expand his power. He sought to overthrow Queen Elizabeth, restore Catholicism in England, and secure Spanish dominance in Europe. In 1588, he assembled a fleet of 130 ships carrying around 30,000 men and aimed to rendezvous with more Spanish forces in the Netherlands. Together, the Spanish forces would invade England and dethrone Queen Elizabeth. The English forces. While the Spanish Armada is impressive in strength and number, the English had several factors on their side. First was the design of its ships, and second was the men who commanded the army. The design of the English ships was entirely different from those of the Spanish Armada. They were significantly more maneuverable and faster than the Spanish ships, mainly because they were smaller. Their cannons were also designed to fight long distances with greater firepower, while the Spanish relied more on boarding tactics and close combat fighting that the English could easily avoid with their quick ships. The English never needed to get close to the Spanish ships to attack them. As for the men in charge of the army, the most significant was Lord Howard of Effingham, who commanded England's defense against the Spanish fleet. Although he was not a celebrated sailor like Sir Francis Drake, who had been terrorizing Spanish ships in the Americas, he was an able commander and a nobleman. He was also willing to listen to those more experienced, such as Drake, who was appointed vice admiral. With quick, maneuverable ships and able men leading them, the English forces seemed prepared for the upcoming battle. However, before the Spanish Armada could set sail, Francis Drake proposed a preemptive strike against Spain, which the Queen cautiously approved. Drake set sail for the largest port on Spain's southwest coast, and when he arrived, he found 60 ships in the harbor. He raided Cadiz, taking what treasures he could and burning the rest. By Drake's own record, he destroyed 24 Spanish ships and took another 6 ships packed with supplies. The raid, which was wildly successful for Drake and the English, threw the Spanish army's plans into disarray and delayed the departure of the Spanish Armada by a full year. The Cadiz segment of the Spanish Armada was nearly destroyed. Drake followed his raid on Cadiz by targeting Spain's tuna fishing grounds and sinking many of Spain's fishing boats. While that may seem unrelated to the Armada at first glance, Drake had sent much of the army's food stock to the bottom of the sea. When the Spanish Armada left a year later, they did not have as many supplies as they needed. The Spanish Armada's journey to England. The Spanish Armada set sail from Lisbon in May 1588, but its departure was a false start. Before it even left its home waters, the fleet hit a storm that caused enough damage that it had to return to its harbor for repairs. After the damage was fixed, it set sail in July of 1588. From there, it traveled up the coast of Spain and France before entering the English Channel toward the southern coast of England. From the start, it faced significant challenges. Poor weather and the need for repairs delayed its progress by 2 months, and the fleet's formation, a crescent shape designed for defense, proved cumbersome as it moved toward England. Meanwhile, the English Navy prepared to intercept the Armada, first sighting them from Lizard Point in Cornwall and proceeding to light warning beacons along the English coastline. After being spotted by the English, the Armada was chased by English ships. Under the command of Charles Howard and Sir Francis Drake, the English used innovative tactics to harass the Spanish. Their ships, faster and equipped with longer-range cannons, could strike from a distance and retreat before the Spanish could respond effectively. The Armada's mission grew increasingly difficult as it struggled to maintain cohesion under relentless English attacks. On the positive side for the Spanish army, their crescent-shaped formation was efficient, placing the most capable ships at the crescent's horns and the larger, slower boats in the middle. It made it difficult for the English to attack close range. It protected the center of the fleet, and it was difficult for the English to penetrate, keeping their relentless attacks at a distance. Eventually, on August 6th, the Armada anchored off Calais, France, to await the arrival of Spanish troops led by the Duke of Parma. However, before the extra forces arrived, the Battle of Graalene began. The Battle of Graalene. The decisive moment came on August 8, 1588, near Graalene, off the coast of modern-day France. The Spanish were waiting for additional troops, which had not yet arrived when the English made their first move. They launched a daring nighttime attack, sending fire ships, vessels that were set ablaze and sent drifting toward the anchored Spanish fleet with the intent of spreading the fire and creating fear among the Spanish troops. Although no fire ships damaged the Spanish vessels, the ensuing chaos forced the Armada to cut their anchor cables and scatter to sea to avoid the fire, breaking the Armada's defensive crescent formation. In the fierce battle that followed, the English took full advantage of their superior maneuverability and artillery. Over several hours, the English inflicted heavy damage, sinking several Spanish ships and forcing others to retreat. However, the Spanish Armada might still have had a chance if it weren't for the weather. During the Battle of Graalene, wind was a major problem for the Spanish fleet. The wind drove them toward dangerous shallow water where the entire fleet could have been grounded. When the wind changed, the Spanish were able to escape to the northeast, but this trapped them in the North Sea. The aftermath of the battle. Following the Battle of Graalene, after the wind forced them into the North Sea, the remnants of the Spanish Armada attempted to return home by sailing around Scotland and Ireland. However, fierce storms and a lack of supplies devastated the fleet. Of the 130 ships that had initially set out to crush the English, fewer than half returned to Spain. The defeat of the Spanish Armada was a turning point in European history, with an impact far beyond Spain and England. The battle demonstrated the importance of technological innovation and strategic flexibility in war. However, it also had lasting political consequences. For Spain, it marked the beginning of a gradual decline as the dominant global power. The loss of the Armada and the battle ruined Spain financially, and some historians mark this event as the beginning of Spain's decline. For England, it was a triumph that bolstered national pride and established the foundation for its future naval supremacy. It also established Elizabeth as a stronger leader and cemented her position as queen. It was also a significant propaganda victory for Elizabeth. Portraits were created showing her in the foreground and the demise of the Spanish Armada in the background. Religiously, it also marked a victory for Protestantism over Catholicism. Elizabeth used the victory to emphasize that Protestantism was the true religion of Europe and had special medals created that said, "God blew and they scattered," in reference to the winds that aided their victory. Lastly, and perhaps worst of all for the Spanish Empire, the triumph inspired other nations to fight against more powerful enemies. Most notably, the Dutch rebellion gained momentum. Although Dutch independence wasn't gained until 1648, the English victory inspired them to fight back harder against the Spanish Empire. This epic showdown between the Spanish Armada and the English Navy is more than just a story of ships and cannons. It is a tale of ambition, resilience, and the shifting tides in history. This battle reshaped the balance of power in Europe and left a legacy that would last centuries. As a result, England swelled into one of the most powerful empires of the last few hundred years, colonizing hundreds of countries and making an impact worldwide. In many ways, the Battle of Graalene changed the course of history forever. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Spain and more epic moments from its history, check out our book, History of Spain, a captivating guide to Spanish history, starting from Roman Hispania through the Visigoths, Spanish Empire, Bourbons, and War of Spanish Independence to the present. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.